What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. How is everybody doing? Got a good day on the market again. Got some climb. Didn't really spike huge, but we got progress again, and that's what we want. This is the Traded Black podcast presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. AV, just him and I here this afternoon as we bring you basically the latest news, developments, and momentum building around rescheduling. We'll even highlight how we think right now and some takes from other people in the space that this whole rescheduling decision from Donald Trump could be less on cannabis policy and more on politics. We'll highlight what that means. Plus, we want to dive into the RNC chair, Joe Gruders. What an announcement, an endorsement last week, President Trump naming him the head of the RNC chair. So that's good news, obviously, for cannabis, plus a few other things and an update from Florida. So we welcome you in. And here's AV here on a Monday afternoon and our latest Trade to Black. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah.
It was a good day.
MSOs, what'd they do? Almost
6.5%.
6.5%. It was up almost 18 million in volume for the day. So
Tilray was up 22%, which was nice. It's rallied hard since Alan Brockstein said sell, which is great.
Wow, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah. He was actually in my comments today on Twitter asking if I bought when he was hyper bullish, and no, I used you as a counter trade signal. As soon as he went bearish, I bought it, and it's up 30% since he said sell.
Yeah,
so it's nice.
It seems like there was, I know we were on Friday, but since then, just more and more people vocalizing about their views on rescheduling. Was very interested to see, obviously, Bruce Lavell's tweet yesterday where tomorrow should be interesting. I think that was all for naught. It was probably a separate topic or issue, but
nothing had anything to do with cannabis that Bruce was saying.
Yeah. Got everybody's attention, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's plugged into the DOJ. I mean, I think it's clearly evident that he's telegraphing a lot of the things that Bondi and Trump are going to do. I think that he's obviously in the know, but everything that he was saying and a lot of the cryptic stuff that he was saying was purely about the executive order spree that Trump and Pam Bondi did this afternoon.
Yeah, agreed. Jason Ybarra, blah, blah, blah. Get down to it. I agree, my friend. Let's hopefully get a decision soon. So let's start with that. Topic number one, which is we title it Democrats Drop the Ball. And we're seeing more and more of this and a lot of people vocalizing. There was a great take that Bill Maher will get into in just a moment. But there was a couple of things that Doug Cass, hedge fund investor, basically was saying that this is more political versus actual cannabis policies. I said off the top that there's less reason to believe that his decision, meaning President Trump, will come from celebrities and advocates like Mike Tyson, Weldon Angelos, and Kim Rivers, but more so in the fact to embarrass Democrats who failed to deliver under Biden and to win over a key voter bloc, which I 100% agree that is accurate. Before I go that far, I do want to say up until this point, job well done by Kim, Weldon, and Mike. But I think now that we're at this 11th hour, I think really to bring this across the finish line is going to get political. And why wouldn't it in this type of situation? Because Donald Trump, if he were to frame it and get an announcement made, it makes the perfect sense to get what he needs, which is voters. But do you agree with Cass's point on some of this stuff too?
I do. I do. I think you could probably pull tape from a long time ago when we were talking about this. And I mean, the politics here matter. If you looked at Fox News this morning, this morning to early afternoon when they were signing those executive orders.
Yeah,
it literally said there in big bold letters, Joe Biden had the worst administration in American history, or something crazy. This is going to be Trump coming out, being grandiose and verbose, and crucifying the Democrats for not moving on cannabis reform. Granted, I think the Biden-Harris administration, I mean, they started it. They got the HHS report done. Shit, they even said they reclassified cannabis in a past tense, but the DEA was never on board. And Milgram never wanted to go through with this. They had an obstinate institution in the DEA, and it got hung up. And I really don't think they wanted to move on it anyway, especially when you look at what Kamala requested going on Joe Rogan and said she didn't want to talk about cannabis. I think if you put Trump on Joe Rogan today, he'll probably openly talk about it exactly like he did in the press conference. That was out. They're going to steal this. They're going to say that they're reaching across the aisle and getting it done. Now I'm just really curious to see what the Chuck Schumers and Cory Bookers of the world that have laid themselves down for progress have to say about this when he actually does get it done and moves the needle forward.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, Do you feel like it's intensified? Like, yes, we've had key messaging over the course of the last 60 days, but over the last 4 or 5 days, it feels like it's gone to another level. And, you know, I don't want to read too much into it, but I'm hoping, obviously, as you said a couple of weeks ago, it's 2 weeks ago now, that we should have a decision in a few weeks. And this is now 2 weeks, which is a couple. Next week is a few. So hopefully we get an announcement here in the next little bit. But it seems to me that the chatter is only getting more and more intent. I don't want to say intense, but it's picking up a lot more.
I don't agree with you there. I think it was the most intense like 2 weeks ago when we had that huge spike on Monday. You had the Wall Street Journal and the CNN articles break on Friday. Then it reverberated all around Twitter.
Yeah.
You had the mainstream media picking up everything. That was kind of like the peak. And I don't want to say that we're kind of like on the decline. I just think people are getting more poignant in the way that they're commenting on the situation right now. I mean, for Doug to come out today and say President Trump will shortly and finally give cannabis rescheduling the green light, I don't think Doug comes out and says that unless he's fully talking to somebody that has a very good idea as to what's going on. And I mean, I think him postulating on the fact that this is going to be very political versus advocacy driven, I buy into that as well. I mean, that makes common sense. I don't think Trump cares about cannabis. I've said that a ton of times. I don't think Trump cares about the progress of cannabis. I don't think Trump cares about legitimizing cannabis. I think Trump sees, I can reclassify this. It's not going to be a deterioration of, let's say, the quality of society. It's going to give me brownie points with a certain population of voters. It's going to give certain people a leg up during the midterms. And we're going to be able to flip this from an optics perspective and make this a political issue. I think he cares about medical marijuana, but I really don't think that he cares about, if you want to get down to brass tacks, the true movement of cannabis. He's going to do it, and I think he's not going to look back, to be completely honest.
Yeah, he may not care about it, but there are a lot of Americans do. And I've always said this is no longer a fringe issue. This can really pick up a lot of Gen Z and millennial votes. And this is where it is an absolute, you know, PR play right now, as far as Democrats dropping the ball and him actually stealing this issue. And what a win it would be, obviously, for him. And I can't help but think that this is going to be very beneficial come next year when the midterms are around the corner.
And I think there's also a lot of intangible things you need to look at. I mean, Donald Trump reclassifying cannabis, you can look into it and say he's not a big pharma shill. He's not a big prison shill. He's not a man of the machine. He's willing to go against the institutions of government for the last 50 years that have crucified cannabis and held it back. This does optically make him look good in certain people's eyes. I mean, it's a step forward. We haven't had a step forward for cannabis in 50 years. It's been a Schedule I narcotic with a DEA that wants to keep it there. People like Sam that just want to use nothing but fact and don't live in reality. And Trump moving this forward would be historic in every sense of the word.
Yeah, David Benz.
Granted, we obviously want descheduling is the ultimate goal. Hopefully rescheduling is just the first step, and then we get states 2.0 that really does drive progress home. But this would be the first step forward, and it's a gargantuan step forward. Huge. Because it's the federal government recognizing that it's no longer a Schedule I narcotic.
Yeah. It's been 2 years now since that HHS recommendation. I think it was right this week, I think, if I'm correct, when they made the recommendation, end of August.
Yeah.
And then we saw that rally for 4 weeks. So that's one thing. But if we get, like I said, a rescheduling announcement, that's a whole other level. So hopefully it happens soon. But David Benz, yes, Trump has said he's never had a drink, obviously never smoked a blunt, but he sees the medical value of weed. Yeah, I think it's near and dear to him. He lost a brother to alcoholism, and I think that's probably in some ways why he keeps at arm's length. But he obviously plays the medical value. And with that is a lot of veterans that have expressed some great outcomes as far as medical cannabis. So with that, I think that's just the angle that he plays when it comes from a political, or I should say a PR standpoint. But yeah, we'll see if indeed we get an announcement relatively soon. Bill Maher actually said it as well. He actually said it on Real Time late last week that he said Republicans are going to steal pot from Democrats as an issue. He even joked this ends up with Trump supporters singing YMCA. So Maher calls this a genius strategy of picking off single issue voters. But he began that segment on his show, I Told You So. And it's nice to see. We've been saying this for quite some time, but when you got a voice of that size and magnitude, Bill Maher is bang on with everything that he's saying and kind of echoing what we're, saying right here this afternoon.
It's common sense.
Common sense.
It's common sense. And I really do think that if and when Trump does this, he's going to lead with, I'm righting the wrongs and the ineptitudes of the Biden administration. Realistically, Biden could have directed the DOJ to bring this home. He just didn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's history. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah. You said a lot of people with poignant views. And if you want to have a poignant business where your systems and tools work together, your dispensary can run better. So Dutchie unifies point of sale, e-commerce, loyalty, marketing, and payments all in one connected cannabis operating system. As I've said before, trusted over 6,500 dispensaries, empowering more than 22 billion in annual sales. Dutchie helps you simplify operations and deliver a seamless experience no matter how or where your customers shop. Build the dispensary tomorrow, today, and learn more at business.dutchie.com. All right. Monday afternoon. Got some comments here we want to go over. What are you seeing?
No, the guy David saying Biden started this process. I mean, yeah, we know that. We've acknowledged that many times. Biden also had a DEA administrator that refused to sign the NPRM, and the AG had to sign it instead. Biden could have easily mandated them, sign it, get it done. He gave us an ALJ. Kamala Harris didn't even want to talk about cannabis. So, I mean, while Biden did start it, and I'm personally appreciative of that, as we got the HHS report, we got the OLC memo under his administration, he didn't use all the levers that he could have done to bring it home, and just looks the same as Chuck Schumer was safe, using it as a carrot, and then at the 11th hour, just Charlie Browning the football again.
Yeah. Well, when we were in Washington in April of 2024, that was really the first time we got a lot of video content, and it was quite the experience. But the sentiment that we did learn that day, and we were hoping it wasn't true, but sometimes the truth hurts. And that was the fact that the DEA really didn't want to have their hands or fingerprints on this rescheduling. And evidently that proved to be the case, especially when we look at the ALJ hearing and how they're very sided in a lot of the comment periods. And quite honestly, that's behind us now. But here we are, September of 2025, 18 months later, and perhaps rewriting history and seeing, what is it, 52 years since this has been classified as a Schedule I drug?
About that, yeah. I think it was, 1973.
Yeah, I think we need to stop and actually realize what's at stake here if an announcement is made. Just Chad, thanks, wrote something about Shane. Did I miss that? Where was that comment? Has Shane or one of you guys gotten clarity on whether or not Schedule III renders safe redundant after the fair banking stuff? That's a good question. I will reach out to Shane and ask that question. I think I understand what your question is. Anyway, we'll get back to that later. Let's move on now. Segment number 2, and that's the RNC chair. So some good news last week involving Joe Gruders being appointed as the head of the RNC chair. President Trump endorsed him. That is huge. We all know what his background was, hugely supportive of Amendment 3, which failed. But this is a great move. And again, it only adds and furthers and thickens the plot around cannabis reform. But what your thoughts are when you heard this announcement?
I'm going to stick with my original take. It's great. I mean, obviously, we know Joe's a friend of the industry and Joe supports cannabis, but I don't think this had anything to do with cannabis. Yeah. It is nice to have an open-minded individual as the RNC chair. Maybe you see if they do think, if in the midterms they can prove that cannabis is a political issue that's actually swung votes, it'll find its way somehow in the platform in the RNC going into 2028. If not, I don't think you'll see anything of it. But if someone's going to bring it forward, Joe's that guy that will. But I really think this is Trump just, again, giving the middle finger to Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis stonewalled Joe Gruders for the CFO of Florida position due to his involvement in the Amendment 3 campaign. After that, Trump was like, all right, Joe, putting you up for consideration for the RNC chair, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And Dave, I don't know if you've ever watched the show before, but no one thinks S3 makes states legal. Like, we've never, ever said Schedule 3 is legalization, is increasing accessibility. No one's ever made any of those claims, and no one is purporting any of those points.
I think he's new to the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've not said that. But one thing's for sure, having people like that in play, like you said, incremental steps. First step is obviously rescheduling. But like you said, if you can get lawmakers to look at this in a different light. It's always good to have somebody in that position if indeed states 2.0 or any other talk regards to, I don't want to go that further down the road.
The best case scenario here is Schedule 3 happens.
Yep.
And then the entire industry, as well as other outside forces, put pressure on Congress to get the States 2.0 Act done. That is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
If that does happen, we're looking at a very, very bright future for the industry as well as the descheduling of cannabis.
Well,
Schedule 3 could do that. It's yet to be determined.
What are things that come to mind if rescheduling is announced and then now we're past that? It's the next stage.
States 2.0.
I realize States 2.0, but if you are lobbying, do you think it only intensifies on behalf of the industry once we get rescheduling?
So if you get rescheduling and you get, let's say, alcohol and some of the other big industries come into the pool, they're going to start to lobby Congress heavily on the States 2.0 Act.
Yeah.
And further legislation, which I do think in a Schedule 3 world, when we're no longer a Schedule 1 narcotic and people realize that cannabis is not the big bad boogeyman and pushing the plant forward is not going to send society into madness, like Sam would want you to think, it's going to be easier for politicians to talk about SAFER, to talk about the States 2.0 Act and get things done legislatively. Because after we get rescheduling, if it happens, the only other way to move forward is legislatively. There's no more administrative action that can help us.
Agreed. Well, we've had conversations with Big Mike and others as to how they think big alcohol and big tobacco will get in right away after rescheduling announcement. If that is indeed the case, imagine the conversation that you and I are going to have in a year from now as to what this industry looks like. There could be a lot of changes, that's for sure. How that looks, we talk about a lot of mergers and acquisitions. I don't think you're going to see cannabis companies scooping up other companies right off the bat. I don't think that'll happen, but it's still, the banking issues are still going to be front and center for a lot of these companies, and distressed assets could be on the market. And,
I think you have a big player come into the space within 12 months.
You do, huh?
Yeah. There's already licenses. There's already a license in Florida that's backed by generational alcohol companies.
So what do you think that does? Let's say a big alcohol company comes into the space within 12 months. What happens to, yes, do they scoop up a major MSO?
What are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course. Again, we saw a big alcohol company come into Canada and pick up Canopy and then
did nothing with
torched billions of dollars. I mean, a big alcohol company or a big tobacco company coming into the States and picking up Trulieve, GTI, Verano, that doesn't necessarily help price compression, the way that some of these markets are structured, the fundamentals of the industry. Consolidation will help in terms of price compression and some of these forces that are deteriorating fundamentals industry wide, but it's not going to be like a silver bullet. I mean, you could easily have someone come in and buy one of the larger MSOs and you have Canopy Constellation repeat itself all over again. I don't think that happens, as the total addressable market is too big in the United States. And if a big alcohol company comes in, they probably push for something like the States 2.0 Act very quickly and swiftly, which would benefit their favor, because a company that had scale, and then they start to consolidate other things. If I was a big alcohol company, I would buy Trulieve, I'd buy Glass House, and then I would go petition to get the States 2.0 Act done.
Yeah. Don't overlook GTI too, with the whole Jim Beam and the family.
I'm just using Trulieve as an example for a tier 1.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'd go buy Trulieve or I'd go buy GTI.
Yeah.
And I'd buy Glass House as my insulation for interstate commerce potentially happening.
Yeah.
Which intrastate commerce could happen under the States 2.0 Act for states that want to form coalitions and form agreements to freely flow import and export over state lines.
And the cannabis space as we know it will be changed forever. But we've been talking about this for a long time, but remain to be seen. But one thing's for sure, don't keep your eye just on the US. We keep talking about that international market as well. And over in Europe, that's going to grow substantially as well. So you really wonder how much of a strategy. I think some of the recreational brands, as you said, big alcohol, are going to focus primarily on the US, because when you talk about international, that's more of a medical play. And that's where I think big tobacco then comes in, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the European market is going to be a different beast. The European market's going to be medical for a long time. I don't think you're going to get adult use in the EU like you see it in the United States anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take a very cautious and patient forward approach. We might have reform already if we never allowed adult use in the States and just led with medical completely. So it's kind of like we're reverse engineering the industry now. They kind of got it right from the beginning. However, it's probably not going to grow as fast as the US. And it might also not warrant as aggressive investment as the US. But Europe going adult use, or like Germany starting to progress through the pillars of the CanG legislation, I just don't see happening anytime
Yeah.
soon.
One thing we are going to know is that once rescheduling announces, if and when, we always talk about research and how we do need more research. And that is going to be a big focal point for the industry as well, is getting these facilities up to par with proper research with the FDA and whatnot. But that's going to obviously be a lot of infrastructure, and I think money that's going to have to be spent. But how do
Well,
you
that's
see
not
that?
good because you don't want a heavy capex cycle for the MSOs,
No,
right?
I get it, but do you not think that that's actually at play? Because like we've said
No.
before, no? What do you think?
Research will be done institutionally. Research isn't going to be done at the MSO level.
So, long story short, what can we expect then? Like once rescheduling happens as far as research, like do you think it'll begin right away?
I think you're going to have universities and institutions, and you're going to see research kind of do, like, for instance, what Avican is doing with the hospitals up in Canada. They're partnered with major medical institutions and major colleges and hospitals to conduct research on patients. Clinical trials will probably be underway. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of investment there, but I don't think you're going to see Truly even GTI investing in medical research anytime soon. I think the HHS, the FDA, maybe form some sort of public-private partnerships and some sort of research, because they need to further study the positive benefits of cannabis and the negative benefits of cannabis moving forward, because those lines need to be drawn. We fundamentally understand the negative benefits of, let's say, nicotine, cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, caffeine. The negative benefits of cannabis have been anecdotally studied, and they've been studied in a lot of studies that are skewed to a very, very negative degree. We need to objectively study what the potential negative effects are of cannabis once and for all and get it done. The thing I was going to say is also there are no real positive effects to be studied of cigarettes or alcohol.
Agreed.
So cannabis does have that in its corner to a very, very good degree.
Hence the reason why Kyle Kazan and the University of California in Glasshouse has it's the University of Cal, is it correct? Yeah, California.
Cal Berkeley, I'm pretty sure, and they're also studying hemp derived THC. It's not cannabis or marijuana derived THC.
Well, like you said, once rescheduling, that's only going to manifest and branch out into cannabis for sure. But yeah, you're seeing that in the psychedelic space with certain universities, and John Hopkins obviously being front and center. But that's what's on deck, if cannabis is announced rescheduling. So let's hope we get an announcement soon. But enough of that topic for now. Let's now switch down south to Florida. Just last week, a federal judge handed cannabis advocates in Florida a major win. He struck down new restrictions that made it harder to gather signatures for ballot initiatives, granting what the ruling called complete relief. After Amendment 3, as we know, got 56% in the initiative back in November 2024. It failed, as we all know. But this decision resets the playing field for 2026. How do you see this playing out? Like, is this realistic that we could have a voter vote on this?
Yeah. I think the initiative is going to be on the ballot. Kim's going to spend the money. They're going to get the signatures. It's great that a court upheld DeSantis's laws that were passed in May, which were basically to curtail citizen-led initiatives to get ballot initiatives on there. Judge ruled in Smart and Safe's favor, which is great. DeSantis has been trying to railroad a ton of things and passing laws to do so. He even wanted to raise the 60% threshold to pass a ballot initiative, which didn't get passed, thank God. I do think Kim's going to spend the money. I do think we get the signatures. I do think you see adult use on the ballot come 2028. I don't know if it passes. It's a gubernatorial year. It's not a presidential year, as Brady alluded to last week. It's less voters at the ballot box. We don't know what DeSantis is going to do. Granted, it could also become a talking point within the gubernatorial race and get amplified. So we could be lucky in that degree. I think it's a wait and see. I won't be anywhere near as bullish as I was in 2024.
Yeah.
With a fuller adult use amendment getting passed.
So this could not take place. This vote on the 2026 midterms would have to wait till 2028.
No, 2026, not 2028. I misspoke.
Right. So we're talking
correct.
about a year from now.
Yeah, November 2026.
Man, what a couple of 12 months that would be if you had rescheduling states to 2.0, and then you also had, let's face it, let's see what's happening in PA. For all you people wondering about Michael Bronstein making his weekly appearance, he's taken some time off last week before school starts with the fam. So good for him. He'll be back here next Wednesday, because a week from today is Labor Day, which is a holiday. We'll keep you guys all posted to see whether or not we're going to do a live stream next Monday. If there's any kind of announcement, I sure as heck will be here live, but we'll keep you posted either way and let you know. But Congress is getting back next week, and all eyes will be on Washington with a lot of moving things. So curious to see what's going to happen with a number of issues that are front and center. We're talking about a lot of things right now, including obviously this Ukraine war. But hopefully cannabis soon has its day in the light, considering what Trump said, it being a few weeks. So we'll see. We will see. All right, let's move to Maryland and Wes Moore. And according to President Trump, he says Governor Wes Moore has called him the greatest president of all time behind the scenes. I don't know if you saw that clip today, but
I'm going to call BS on that one.
Oh my God, man. Politics playing at its finest both ways. And 1 minute you have people saying that President Obama was the greatest president of all time, and then Trump just knows how to play that big time. But when you look at, well, first off, he actually made a comment last week about, what was it, adult use legalization. It went live back, in June of 2023, if I'm correct. And
yeah, in Maryland.
He said
Wes Moore would actually make a great presidential candidate. If you took Wes Moore, Andy Bashir, Josh Shapiro. I can't believe I just slipped that up. Josh Shapiro, a couple other figures within the Democrat Party, and actually put a ticket together that spoke towards the people, they could definitely resonate.
Yeah. Well, he said recently, and this is Governor Moore, is saying legalization was one thing that got more votes than him on the ballot. A humorous line, but it underlines just how popular cannabis reform has been in Maryland. Went live.
Donald Trump knows cannabis is an 80-20 issue.
I know. It's not a fringe issue. I've done a lot of cannabis in fives recently, and everything I'm seeing, reading, and reporting, it's like, I get it.
Depending on how Texas goes, they're going to see how much cannabis matters in Texas. Come the ballot box.
Is a very complicated situation right now with a lot of moving parts. And I think this is going to get delayed. And when you have something announced from Washington, I don't know what okay, let's say rescheduling is announced. Okay. What then happens in Texas? I think you see a lot of things in a different light.
I don't think it has any bearing.
It needs to be regulated more. You're not going to have a flat out ban across the entire state. I just don't see that happening. I know Michael has said a very conservative approach. What that really means, no one's really understanding, but it gives you kind of
never say never.
I would be.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I think that they will have a semblance of hemp products being sold in Texas, but I don't think the industry participants are doing themselves any favors down in Texas. I don't think the politicians are doing themselves any favors in Texas. On their side, it's a complete shitstorm with what's going on in Texas.
Agreed.
I just hope it comes to a solution here shortly, and I'm definitely not rooting for a ban.
Yeah. Well, getting back to Maryland, July of 2023, program has been a clear success. Its first year, they topped, I think it was 1.1 billion with adult use, making up about 700 million. So a lot of tax revenue. And Governor Moore has pardoned more than 175,000 people with misdemeanor cannabis convictions. So all in all, that is a clear model as to how popular cannabis is amongst the American people. And I brought up a point last week in my Cannabis in Fives that when you talk about this Ukraine war and some of these important topics, that's international, far away, and it's tough for the everyday American to really understand and relate to. Yes, they read about it, but they're not over there. They're not seeing the war. But this is an issue that hits home every single day, and it's an emotional connection amongst American people, which is why it's getting huge support and a lot of attention. And again, I think this is why it's, like I said, no longer a fringe issue. And say what you say, and there's more important things to talk about: interest rates, economy, that sort of thing. But the numbers don't lie, and this is going to be a hot topic. And if you can get something done, it's definitely going to sway, as we said before, more voters in your favor, regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's going to be good optically. I mean, he can say that he reclassified it, recognized it as having medical value, medicinal value.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need to also keep in mind that with rescheduling, nothing changes. Zero. It's not more accessible. There's not more. There's not more any access to the plant. I mean, there's increased medical use, and the industry. I don't even want to call it a tax cut. The industry finally gets put on an even playing field as a legitimate business. It legitimizes the businesses. Tax cut's not really the appropriate word, as they shouldn't be subject to 280E in the first place.
Yeah.
Which, via Jason Wild and the Boys lawsuit, is going to probably prove over time is unconstitutional in the first place. But I think we need to stop calling it a 280 tax cut and start referring to it as legitimizing cannabis businesses as a real business in this country, in an industry that's generating $30 billion in revenue right now.
Well, I think the reality is, as we all know, this industry moves on announcements, and that's what gets a lot of investors happy. But how long this run lasts, who knows? I think, you could see a pullback after whatever weeks, maybe. Again, I have no idea. You can't put a timeline on this, but I think the truthful is that this industry moves on momentum. But to your point, it's like, we need these incremental steps to start getting actual bills passed to change the complexion of this industry and address a lot of the banking issues. But Chad, rub your head inside information of that it's a done deal. Yeah, I wish I could, Rose, but yeah, we'll see what happens in this next little bit, but hopefully, fingers crossed, there's some positive momentum. But again, to your point, Anthony, it doesn't solve any issues, but we all know that this industry moves on announcements right now. But once that settles and the euphoria kind of wears off a bit, then it's onwards and upwards to the next step, which is, like you think, big alcohol could get in, the lobbying power that they would have to eventually, let's say, push something like a States 2.0 Act in place. But that's viable, I think, and it's a great way of looking at things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be great if and when it's announced. There's going to be a lot of questions. How does the IRS act? What goes on with the taxes that have been accrued on these balance sheets?
Yeah.
How does the leverage start to get affected? How does the industry move forward? I'm not saying it's in a bad way, but there's going to be some things that need to be figured out. That might get wrapped up in all that excitement.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? I do also want to bring up last Wednesday. Again, great job that you had with Noah, and got a lot of great feedback online. People were really, really impressed with the questions that you brought up. But, I guess we'll remind people again. But based off of that, and I know a lot of people right now, and full disclosure, I am a shareholder of the ETF MSOS. But when you look at that interview from last week and some of the questions that you had, did you get any clarity? What was the big takeaway for you after that conversation? If there was one or two things that come to mind.
I mean, I think there's some opacity within the ETF on how it functions. I'm glad a lot of people got value from that with the questions that were answered. I mean, I applaud Noah for coming on in an open forum and answering those questions.
Yeah.
I think we need to see what's going on with the ETF today with the tape. Dan's on the Alpha Nuna tomorrow with Noah, so I'm sure it'll be another open book session as per the plumbing issues that could be there and or the strategy of active management moving forward. I mean, also, I kind of want to just caution everybody to not get too excited and caught up in the hype on something's happening this week. Obviously everything looks good. There's certain signals that are flashing. There's certain people that are saying it's going to come, but I mean, let's all be real. We've been here before. Don't get overweight. Don't go pushing all your chips in. Don't get overly excited and just believe whatever you want to believe, because it's cannabis reform. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we have had wrenches thrown at us before. This time might be different, but I mean, there's no guarantee that something's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks.
We're a media company, not an investment firm, right? That makes sense. We're not giving you any kind of investment advice, but yeah, no one knows anything about timeline wise, other than the fact that we go off of what the presser said from 14 days ago, which was that we should have hopefully some news. But when you look at crypto, there was a lot of announcements that were made, but what we're still looking at, how long has it been since there was original announcements that he had pertaining to, isn't Senator Tim Scott wants something on his desk by the end of September? Obviously that's tied up with Congress being out.
Crypto's cranking. I mean, Ethereum is up 3x from earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Crypto's on a tear. If you're riding ETH, there's ton of momentum in crypto.
But isn't there still a tremendous upside once we get more clarity and regulation from Washington?
Could be. I mean, I think a lot of people that are trading crypto need to study TradFi and what's going on in the paper markets with gold over the decades. I mean, there is a derivatives markets put a lid on assets where you don't have to actually use the underlying or leverage the underlying moving forward. You want to look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been range bound for a while. Ethereum will probably get range bound too here. I mean, there's Tom Lee and these treasury companies aren't going to put billions of dollars into Ethereum in the open market, just drive it up. Like they're going to hedge it down and put a lid on it until they're done buying. I mean, crypto is going to be interesting to see how it evolves with the financialization of it, because I mean, as we've seen when investment banks and TradFi and these guys get involved, like these paper markets and these derivative markets can really be the downfall of the purity and sovereignty of a lot of assets. Just look at gold.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Good time to be alive right now, it seems like, in these new emerging industries. We're getting a lot of great positive feedback regarding psychedelics as well. And thought that was a good conversation that we had last week. But man, it's High Life Sciences. I checked out that chart. They're trading over $5 now, are they not?
Thai is trading over $5. I've sat out that entire rally.
Man, tough one.
Can't win them all.
Can't win them all. Well said. I also heard a great commentator this weekend describe Donald Trump as maybe being the wrong messenger with the right message. And I think there's some facts to that. He's got, how many people have met him one-on-one and are blown away on the personal level that they get to know Trump, the questions that he asks. And maybe it's a side that people don't necessarily see, and majority of people don't see. Hopefully one day we get a chance to see that, get a chance to go down to Mar-a-Lago and have a chance to conversation with President Trump. But that would be incredible.
Trump is his own worst enemy. Like at the end of the day, I kind of respect him because he's real. Like he doesn't hold anything back and he just says whatever he wants. But I mean, he says something that's like brilliant and makes a lot of sense, and then he's crazy grandpa in the next 3 sentences, and then just making shit up, flying off the handle. He's authentic, but he's authentic kind of to a fault.
Yeah.
With the guy that has the nuclear codes and is sitting in the Oval Office and running the country at the same time. So I mean, you kind of got to let the guy ebb and flow. Yeah.
Well, got a few people reaching out. We got our High Tide crew. I think they're pretty happy the last week or so. That stock's been moving. Tilray as well. What did we see Tilray do today? What was that up?
Tilray was up 22% at the close.
Wow. Moving as well.
21%.
What's CGC doing?
Canopy was up 14%.
Okay.
I would love to have Westmore on Canada. I mean, I would love to have Westmore on potentially.
Village Farms down a little bit today, but what a run it's been on the last, well, what, two months?
What, Village? Yeah, Village has been, I said it, Village just needed to get that vegetable business off from around their neck.
Yep.
And they'd be smooth sailing.
MSOs closed at 5:30 here today.
Yeah.
But yeah, good point. Dan Aarons, the nooner, tomorrow. So Mackenzie and the crew, they'll be talking a lot more stuff. So log on to X, and I'm sure that, the questions that you had us for our live stream last week, I think we got the ball rolling with a lot of questions that people want to know more of. So Dan's on tomorrow, so make sure you show up to their handle and see what happens from there. Need to get CUSA president on. Any luck on that? Irish, yes. We have spoken. They are trying to set it up. But you can probably tell in the interviews that we do with Luke, his focus is a lot on the international and Canadian markets. But he has openly said flat out that, yeah, we need to get on CUSA's president. Or why am I drawing a blank? What's the name of the president of CUSA?
Brooks Jorgensen, I think.
Correct.
Is his name. And guys, I know I've talked shit about Tilray a bunch. I still don't really like the underlying business, if I'm being completely honest. I don't like the capital structure of the business, but Tilray is a liquidity machine, and Tilray is going to trade heavy and fast on a headline, and it's super liquid, which is the only reason I bought it.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Yeah. What's up with Nancy Mace these days? Isn't she running for governor of South Carolina?
She is running for the governor of South Carolina and does not care about cannabis.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No, it's kind of crazy because I'm going to Kiowa next week in South Carolina. And if you look outside the airport, there's just hemp shops circling the airport because I was looking where I can buy Cantrip, the beverages when we land. And it's literally just everywhere around the airport.
Well, some of our network
smoke shops.
Some of our network is actually close with Senator Rand Paul. Quick reminder, that's coming up on Wednesday, September the 10th at 4:30. We've got 20 minutes with Senator Paul. Once we had that confirmed, we actually received a few messages, and some of his members from his communications team, we actually know, same people that actually set up interviews with Congresswoman Nancy Mace. So it's all in who you know sometimes, that's for sure. But Senator Rand Paul, September 10th at 4:30 will be on the live stream with us to talk about the fallout, obviously, with Senator Mitch McConnell and how that's all playing out. But he wants to obviously increase the federal threshold to 1%. And let's walk before we run and have a more rational approach, which I think is right. Because really now the way I look at it is Senator McConnell went from one end of the spectrum now to the other end, and it feels like he's making two mistakes at the same time without thinking this through, which does not surprise us, as we know full well what McConnell has done for this cannabis space, and it's not really fitting into the positive column.
Yeah. Also, Mohammed, I mean, saying Tilray could be a top 3 or 5 company in the cannabis sector, it's not the craziest thing. They just need a lot to happen. They would have to go buy a big MSO. They would have to activate all of that alcohol infrastructure that they've got, go full bore on beverage, raise a ton of money, and then deploy a ton of money. But they could, in theory, be that one day if they made the right moves. And like I said, it's an absolute liquidity machine. I don't think it's primed or it's ready to be that today. I wouldn't bet on it being that today, but would it surprise me 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now if Tilray is a top 5 company in this space and Irwin actually pulls off what you can see is kind of the writing on the wall as to what they want to pull off? Yeah, I mean, that could happen.
What's your take on SNDL? We had some good takes on it last week.
SNDL is another liquid name. They still are mired in litigation, though, with Skymint and with Certera and those parallel assets. But, I mean, Zach also has the alcohol business in Canada. And if you listen to what Beano's talking about, they're potentially looking at selling THC hemp-derived beverages in liquor stores. If that happens, Zach's got the pipes to basically own Canada as it relates to the beverage opportunity. Not saying he's going to, but he could. The same way Irwin has been stacking alcohol infrastructure in the United States, waiting on reform.
Yes. Shad, give my boys a shout out. Drew Dinkins, how are you, my friend? Terracin and the Terracin boys. Yes. Jason, Ziad, good friends to the show. Jason has been very instrumental in helping us grow our audience as well. And I've said before that he helped hook up that interview that I had, and would have loved to have had you there, but you had a newborn and was limited in traveling at that time. But we'll get Mr. Mike Tyson back on, hopefully here in the near future again. But we shall see. All right, we're at the 45-minute mark. We're thinking that we're going to be a little bit quicker one here today. We're going to talk about, I'll have a Cannabis in 5 coming out tomorrow morning that talks more about this political angle versus actual cannabis policy and the reasons why. So that'll be going out tomorrow morning. And we'll have, trying to figure out what we'll have tomorrow afternoon, but we'll tee up some guests for Wednesday and Friday of this week. I think you're going to be solo on Friday this week. I'm going to be out golfing. Labor Day weekend. Where does time go, right? It's crazy that we are at the end of August, but for a lot of people in cannabis, granted, the summer has been nothing short of eventful. Usually in the summertime, it's pretty quiet, but if we can get an announcement and some positive momentum regarding reform, I'm good to close the door on the summer and bring on the fall, because it would be one heck of a Q4 and the positive sentiment that this industry has badly needed for years, right?
Yeah, maybe we'll get an announcement on Friday. You never know.
Yeah. One thing I also want to bring up too before we run is our good friends Jason Rasnick, Patrick Lane, and Elliot Lane. They launched Ignite It. They actually parted ways with Benzenga. So they actually are talking about how they're going to be still doing some conferences, and they host the best investor conferences in North America in Chicago every single year. And they actually branched off, looked like they bought the assets or part of the Benzenga, the original company that bought out Jason and the company. They actually started their own shell and basically launched Ignite It, and they've retained all the cannabis assets. So with that, there'll be more conferences, and maybe we'll get Mr. Rasnick on and or in the near term and get his vision as to what he's thinking about what this company is going to do. But he's going to have to face the top podcast in the industry, which is here at TDR's Traded Black. What do you think, buddy? Thumbs up. All right. Lots of comments coming in. Appreciate all the feedback. Make sure to log on and scan that QR code right there. Become a daily baked in newsletter subscriber. Lots going on here as of late, and you want to stay connected. So make sure you stay connected with us. And more importantly, any questions, feel free to reach out with us anytime. And if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe to our channel. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everybody. We'll see you back here Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We'll give you an update early Wednesday as to who we'll be talking to and what the topics will be. But yes, some of your people, why don't I reach out to Matt Gates? I have been procrastinating that. I don't know if we'll get him on, but I'm going to do that right after the show right now. So hopefully we can get him on relatively soon. But again, mark it in your calendars. In 2.5 weeks, Senator Rand Paul will be joining us here on the TDR Traded Black podcast, 4:30 Wednesday, September the 10th.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I know you've been asking the entire podcast. I don't have anything to say about MariMed right now. I mean, I don't know what you want, like some analysis, like off the cuff of like MariMed, but I've got we cover MariMed with John Levine. We talk about them on earnings. I mean, there's nothing really to say right now off the cuff about them. I know it's like the 5th time you've asked. Just look for one of the other segments when we have Ryan Crandall or John Levine on with us.
They've got fantastic brands, and they rank very strong in the markets they're in. Illinois, Maryland,
now that MSA.
Yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts right now, and there's more to the story to tell. But all I can say right now is that they've got good brands, they've got a good team, and we shall see, obviously, in these next few months, as to how this company starts to like change. I don't want to say change, but just really grow. And that's a lot of questions that a lot of people are going to ask pertaining to certain companies in the space. Jushi's another one. If we get Virginia to flip to adult use, and along with PA, like the story today could look a lot different in 60, 90, even 120 days for some of these companies. And I think MariMed in a lot of ways, can fall into that sort of umbrella, especially when you look at some of the political landscape that's in play. But as of right now, as of today, were to ask me, it's a good company with some strong brands that are in place. And unlike the margins, they focus a lot on the wholesale. And we actually had conversations with Jesse Channon, I remember back in June, that talked about it's costly to spend money on innovation right now and brands, but they've gone kind of the different route in a lot of ways. But that's not necessary to say it's the wrong way, because they do have established brands, and we all know that it's quality versus quantity in this day and age with regards to the cannabis game right now. And they re-entered Illinois. They used to have a contract agreement with GTI years ago when it came to Betty's Eddies. Then they left Illinois for 4 or 5 years. People asked about it. There was a ranking of 120 SKUs as much as 14 months ago when it re-entered the market. And all it's done is grow from 120 into the top 5. So clearly it resonates in the markets that they sell. So I don't know if that answers your question, but all in all, we'll have more content. We'll be following and reporting on MaryMed over these next few months. So we'll keep you posted in our next interview with them. So that's it. All right. Great show. Great information. Thanks, Mr. B's, 2K Taps. And in the meantime, like I said, we'll see you guys all back here on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Keep you posted on our guest. And in the meantime, make sure to stay connected. And we'll see you tomorrow with more TDR Cannabis and 5 evergreen videos talking about rescheduling. And hopefully we get an announcement soon. In the meantime, take care. And we'll see you back here Wednesday at 4.
Thanks, everybody.
So what'd you think of all that information? Some interesting stuff that we just learned once again here at the TDR Traded Black podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below. We'd love to get your feedback. As usual, if you have time, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And stay connected with us here at the Trade to Black podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone.